Welcome to my show. A guest here. Her name is Kelly Barron. Mrs. Kelly, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on today, Timmy.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. Firstly, you are a podcast host. You also host a podcast show. Can you please, ma, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, ma?
Well, that is a great question. I'm a chiropractor by trade, but I am currently dealing with women and women's health in the midlife sector, but also women that have been survivors of assault. And in various assault situations, whether it's just physical assault, mental assault, sexual assault. But that is my primary goal, is to work with women and give them a channel and a voice to speak about their stories and to seek help.
Wow, that's very great. And do you have you also written a book on this angle? And are you also planning to write more book in the coming future, Mrs. Kelly?
I would like to write a book to tell my story and how it relates to anyone that's been a survivor of any form of assault. I think it's really important to be able to reach people that might not feel comfortable talking about their assault and giving them a place to speak about it. And hopefully that my story will resonate with them and give them the ability to reach out, to not feel shamed or guilty.
Yeah, I completely agree, Mrs. Kelly. Sexual assault is one of the things that is common in our time today. Well, we do not know, maybe it's because of the rise of the technology, but it really happens today. How do you think surviving an assault impact a person emotional, mental, and also the physical well-being, ma?
It has a massive impact on all three, whether the survivor realizes that or not. And that is really common, that you will go through something and you won't realize. My assault was a physical assault, and I had no idea for years, other than fear, that there was any impact. But what it does do to you, what it can do to you, and everybody's experience is different. But emotionally, fear, obviously, that's the most common, that you fear being attacked again. You fear, that you're helpless. Um, Shame and guilt. Did you do something to provoke the attack? Did you do something that you should have done differently? Did you not, follow instincts? Do people look at you differently? Then you'll get to the part where you're angry. You're angry that it happened to you, and then you move on into grief, become very sad or depressed, and then eventually, most folks, and again, everyone is different, you begin an emotional numbness to the situation. Mentally, you can have PTSD. Things can trigger you, and they don't have to be things completely related to the assault. Depression, whether you relate it to the assault or not, depression is very common and doesn't happen right away. It could happen 20 years down the road. Anxiety disorders, being nervous all the time, not being trustworthy, having difficulty in relationships. Those are all very big mental um, aspects or side effects, if you will, that can happen. And then physically, if you have injuries or trauma that you hold in your body, can be very somatic, and you could have headaches, stomach aches, or other stress related ailments. Sleep disturbances is a big one. And then just it can manifest as you know, if you hold all that stress in your body, you can manifest chronic health issues that weaken your immune system and can contribute to other conditions like hypertension. So it's so multifaceted what the symptoms can be, or what the side effects, if you will, can happen that you may not realize are related to the trauma.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. And I would like to also go to the point of the person. Okay, I would like so that you understand better. Let me just use myself as an example. You know, I survived an assault. Okay, I've survived this assault, and I'm emotionally hurt. I want to take the time. I want to know the step to heal from this wound. What is the first step someone can take towards healing from, after surviving an assault, man?
So I think the biggest thing that you can do immediately, the easiest thing that's available is creating a support network, whether that's one person, whether that's multiple people, family, friends, people that are also survivors. But you need to reach out and connect with people that you can lean on, that you can tell your story with no fear of judgment, and that you know will be there for you and can help you reach out to find care. Because sometimes we freeze and or again, shame or guilt, and we don't know how to reach out, but you need people that will help you or will guide you or do it for you. Physical care, that becomes another big step, whether that looks like adopting healthy routines, getting into different forms of exercise so your body has a physical outlet for the trauma, balanced nutrition, and just supporting your overall being. Those are things that you need to do. Those are things we need to do regardless. But when you're storing all this trauma and stress, it becomes really important that you take care of your body and that you give it an outlet to that has nothing to do with yelling, screaming, sadness, grief, just really trying to support your overall health. Self-compassion, letting yourself know it's okay to go through all these feelings and emotions. It's okay to be angry, sad, mad. It's okay to be numb, but that you give yourself the grace and allow yourself to heal in the way that works best for you. And I think finally the big one, seek out therapy. And therapy can have a million different forms, but seek out someone who's trained in this to help guide you through the healing and to give you actionable steps that you wouldn't otherwise take.
Mm, thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. There are also situations like flashback, something that gives the spark of reflection. And there will also be a position whereby you want to come back to who you really are. Because I do not know if people who have faced sexual assault are still the same people they are after that time. So I would like to ask, how do you think survivors can reclaim their sense of power and also their personal sense of control, ma?
So flashbacks, you're right. Flashbacks can happen. And again, some
Mm.
people compartmentalize and they hide the trauma. They put it in a little box in the back of their brain and they don't deal with it. And they may get flashbacks or triggers down the road and, trying to find ways to cope with that, like breathing and affirmations, journaling, art and music, all that is really good for flashbacks. But when you start to look at how do you reclaim your power and how do you get your sense of control? A really good way to do that is to start reframing the experience. And it's really hard to say what positive can you pull from an experience like that, but if you can reframe it to say this terrible thing happened to me and what can I do to make this better? How can I say I didn't allow this or I deserved this, but how can you say this happened and I'm going to be stronger for it? And one of the things that I had done was I was in fear of well, probably 10 years of being alone anywhere, especially at night because my assault happened in a dark parking lot. And for me, the the way that I was able to cope with it was to start training self-defense and to start feeling like I had ways, tools at my disposal to fight back should it ever happen again. So reframing the experience. And then from there, I actually began to train MMA and boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, and down the road, at the very young age of 38, I took my first amateur MMA fight. And the reason I did that was not because I wanted to be an MMA fighter, but because I wanted to put myself in a horrible situation similar to like what I had been in, and to prove to myself, whether I won or lost that fight, to prove to myself that I could fight back. And then I wasn't a victim. So reframing the experience, the narrative, building an emotional resilience. And that doesn't mean harden yourself and become cold. It just means that you're taking what happened and you're building upon it. Choosing safe people, surrounding yourself with individuals who are supportive, understanding, not judgmental. We talked about creating that support network. Um, Learning to set boundaries. When you go through trauma like this, and assault, you just start to become almost a people pleaser, or you go the opposite direction. You don't want to talk to anyone. But if you learn to establish and enforce the boundaries that protect you emotionally and your physical well being now, so you may not want to talk about it, and it's okay. Set that boundary. Um, you may not want to be around a lot of people, and that's okay. Set that boundary. Reclaiming your choices, making really intentional decisions that you feel empowered by, even in small matters, but just reinforcing your ability that you control your life. Even though someone took that choice and that option away from you at one moment in time, no more. You will control your life, and start advocating for yourself. Speak up for your needs. If you're having a rough time, if something's triggered you or a flashback, speak up for yourself and seek help. Whether that's in personal relationship, work, or even healthcare settings, just advocate for yourself, gain that control, and redefine your identity. You're not a victim. A terrible thing happened, but you are no longer a victim. You're a fighter, you're a survivor, and you are not defined by the assault.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. And with your experience, helping other women who could have faced this same situation, there will also be some important lessons you've learned over time. What is the most important lessons you've learned from helping survivors of assault, ma?
So I would say one of the most important lessons, being a survivor and working with survivors, is just driving home that point that you can't deny that something terrible happened to you. It happened. It's part of you. It has reshaped and it will reshape who you are going forward. And this is your time to take back control and say, yes, it is going to impact who I am, how I interact with people, how I interact with myself moving forward. But I personally have that choice of how that will be, and how I would react to it. And if survivors understand that, and they take from it and they just reach in and say, I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to be resilient, I am not going to be a victim, and I am going to redefine again who you are, but in the most positive light. Think so positively of yourself. Too many people will just spiral down and think negatively. Just reach down deep and find that positivity, and let that bleed through the rest of your life.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. And I know you spoke about family, friends, but I would also like to know, how do the audience might also like to know what role do friends, family, and even most importantly, community play in a survivor's recovery?
So in a survivor's recovery, um, it's really hard with family,
Okay.
especially if you have a significant other, children. It's very hard to express the emotions you're going through with people that are that close to you. You
Yeah.
put expectations on yourself that I don't want to burden them with my emotions. I don't want them to see me depressed. I don't want them to see me cry. And it's the wrong thing to do. In my situation, um, I leaned in on my husband and my children. And now when my assault happened, I wasn't married and I didn't have children at the time. I was in my early 20s. But as the years went by and it affected me and I couldn't be alone, that's when I turned to my nuclear family and drew strength from them and didn't have any shame or guilt leaning on them and letting them support me. The same thing goes with friends. You have to have people that they may not be as close to you or as intimately entwined into your day to day, but people that you can reach out to and just simply say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day." And it could look like just going to get coffee. You could be talking about the situation, but people that aren't so close to you, that aren't necessarily, I would say, biased, that you can feel very comfortable that you're not burdening them or upsetting them. And then community takes it to a whole other level. Community is where, you reach out, maybe you go to survivor groups or experts therapy, um, talking to people who have lived through it, and that's where you draw on how did they cope, and does that work for me? Do their techniques work for me? Is this a good idea? Oh, that sounds like I didn't know, journaling, that journaling would be a great thing to do. So when you pull on your community, that's where you start finding out ways that other people are dealing with it, and light bulbs go on. Maybe those are great things that'll help you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. And lastly, for those who might feel hopeless, for those who might feel like, the world is gone on them already, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who feels hopeless after surviving an assault, ma?
I would say the best thing that you can do is you need to gain control back. Mentally, physically, you need to gain control over your mind and your body. Find something that empowers you. It does not matter what it is. It could be exercise. It could be, if it's a physical and or sexual assault, where there's a physical component, it could be learned self-defense. It could be knitting. It could be painting. It's whatever brings you a feeling of control. It brings you joy. It empowers you, and it takes away, even if momentarily, it takes you away from those feelings of despair and guilt, that you're hopeless, that your life will never be the same. Find one thing that empowers you and jump headfirst in and eh, go all out on it. And again, for me, like I said, learning self-defense and then teaching women self-defense became my outlet for my feeling of control and taking away that hopelessness. It actually made me feel super empowered. And, I'm a female. An attack can happen at any time, at any place. And a male, a child, it doesn't matter who you are. Just because you survived one assault doesn't mean that there's not bad people or bad experiences still out there. So being able to walk around and say, all right, I'm okay, come at me, try to hurt me, but now I have tools that maybe, maybe something will still go wrong, but I know I can fight back. And this time I know that I gave it 100%. And that feels like control. That takes away the hopelessness.
I completely agree. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. I personally do not know, but this assault is something that is really traumatic and it's a very, very big experience. Spreading it this way is really, really lovely. Thank you so much, ma. And lastly, there's a question I normally ask ma from the ancestors, from the forefathers. There are a lot of things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, ma?
Oh, this is a really good question. Um, wow, I'd have to really think about that. I would say, again, mine always goes back and relates to my own experience.
Mm,
But I would say if we went back and, you know, before there were cars or things like that, um, that I don't want to say tribe, but that community of your extended family's family. It was a village, it was a community. Everybody pitched in, everybody supported each other. And it was sort of like if something horrible happened to one person, the entire, community would rally around you and help protect you. So I would say, if you look back, look at any movies and you see, let's say you go to Scotland and you see the clan and the clan, they were all in one little village and they supported you. And if you were from theirs, they protected you, even if they didn't know you so well. But I think of bringing back that tight community and extended families, that would be really good. I think that's missing today. I think we all feel sort of isolated and have minimal family members or support, and we're just sort of floating out there in the interwebs, kind of alone. And just having that group, that sense of family and community, that needs to come back.
yeah, I completely agree. It needs to come back. This physical stuff needs to come back. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly. I sincerely want to personally thank you on speaking on this sexual assault experience that you have personally experienced. And I want to also personally thank you for the advice and step you give other people who might be experiencing this situation. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kelly.
Well, Timmy, thank you so much, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk, and
Mm,
people that are survivors, giving them something to draw from and hopefully help them move forward. It's really awesome that you did this.
mm. All right, have a wonderful day, ma. Bye bye.
All right, bye-bye.